Researcher notes.
Let me tell you an interesting story that I personally witnessed. We lived together as a close-knit group in a large country house, located far from the bustle of the city. One sunny summer day, my friends asked me to help sort out the situation in one of the rooms. An old wardrobe and shelves needed to be dismantled and moved to the garage to free up space for new furniture. It was serious and laborious work, and the heat was unbearable, which meant we constantly had to move personal belongings to avoid accidentally damaging them. It so happened that my favorite sunglasses became a sort of companion in my work process. Every time I carried another load, I tried to carefully place the glasses in a safe spot, making sure in advance that no one would accidentally knock them over or break them. As I disassembled the furniture, I repeatedly moved the glasses from place to place, each time carefully remembering their new position. The final stage of the work was completed successfully. The furniture was moved, the room was cleared, and all that remained was to gather the tools and tidy up the space. It was at that very moment that trouble arose. When I came to the hallway for the last time, I carefully placed my glasses on the top shelf and showed my friends where they were, warning everyone not to accidentally touch or damage them. However, after cleaning was completed and the room was thoroughly inspected, I discovered that the glasses had disappeared. They were nowhere to be found, neither on the shelf I had indicated nor anywhere else in the apartment, despite a meticulous search of every corner. Of course, knowing my friends, I was used to pranks, but honestly, such antics were completely unlike them. And why would anyone waste time and effort on someone else's glasses when the entire apartment was turned upside down for moving furniture? Nevertheless, I continued to interrogate them, trying to convince them to return the glasses, even though I realized I was unfairly suspecting people I knew. In the end, my search yielded nothing. The workday that followed was calm, but something caught my attention as soon as I entered the office. The sunglasses were neatly placed on a shelf where I had never put them. Usually, the glasses stayed near my desk, but now they lay peacefully on the top of the bookshelf, from where no employee would think of taking someone else's item. Understanding the absurdity of the situation, I turned to my colleagues and asked, "Has anyone touched my glasses?" The response was unanimous. No one had any idea how they ended up in an unfamiliar place. Reflecting on the circumstances of the previous day, I realized that the strict sequence of actions and precise knowledge of the glasses' location ruled out the possibility of accidental loss. I called my friends, trying to find out who among them might have pulled off the trick of moving the glasses into my workspace, but I was met with genuine astonishment and assurances that they had absolutely nothing to do with it. Over many years of shared friendship, I learned to understand the behavior of my friends and knew that such an action was completely out of their character. The incident raised so many questions that I was never able to explain what happened. There are plenty of similar stories, and this one is by no means the only one to cause puzzlement and bewilderment. I'll tell my short story. I'm walking home from work. A woman is walking ahead of me, about 50 meters away. I look down, but I hear the gate bang, meaning the woman has gone out. I immediately look up, but there's no one behind the gate. The road is clearly visible and there is no other exit. My amazing story of getting acquainted with the city of Valencia. Preparing for the trip recently, we decided to go on an exciting family trip to Spain, specifically to the beautiful city of Valencia. In anticipation of the trip, I actively studied the sights and walking routes, trying to create the most interesting and eventful itinerary. For preparation, I used the wonderful Google Panoramas feature, a virtual walking tool that allows you to explore any cityscape in detail from home. One of the interesting places I researched was a beautiful park located in the city. This park is famous for a large-scale depiction of the hero from Jonathan Swift's well-known novel Gulliver. While exploring the park's virtual streets through Google Maps, I came across an interesting feature of the area and suggested to my wife to join me, show her the unusual sights, and propose including a visit to the park in our list of must-see attractions. The mystery of the park. While we were looking at the panoramas, I drew my wife's attention to the park's unique landscape and delightful decorative elements, emphasizing the importance of visiting this place. Then my wife's confident voice sounded. "You've already shown me this," she said. I was utterly astonished. "What do you mean, already shown?" I exclaimed. "I just opened the panoramas." Exchanging a glance with my daughter, I heard the continuation of the story from my wife. Yes, I remember this park. There's even a hippopotamus swimming behind the glass." I was completely puzzled by this statement, as I had never shown these photos to my wife before, and there had been no hippopotamus visible in the panorama view to begin with. Leaving my wife and daughter to their thoughts for a moment, I continued exploring the virtual park, trying to find any clue regarding her claims. Reality exceeded expectations. Continuing to explore the surroundings, I indeed came across a section of the park where the terrain became more exotic and reminiscent of true jungles. Soon, sightseeing walks began along the lake, surrounded by greenery and numerous natural trails. Following one of the routes, I reached an area where steps leading down began to appear. Descending the steps, I saw a transparent glass wall, through which an amazing underwater view of the lake opened up. It was there, in the depths of the clear waters, that I found a hippopotamus. Now I stood in bewilderment, examining the beast my wife had mentioned long before the opening of this section of the park. There was no other way to interpret this phenomenon except as a mystical coincidence. After several hours of research and discussion about what had happened, we still could not find a rational explanation for how my wife knew about the existence of the hippopotamus behind the glass in this park. Perhaps it was a visual memory effect, or some kind of telepathic connection, but the fact remains, my wife predicted the existence of the animal in a park unknown to us before it appeared before our eyes. Thus, a trip to Valencia promises to be unforgettable, filled with new discoveries and mysteries that lie ahead. I decided to share my amazing story involving our fluffy pet's cats. I live in a large country estate located near my beloved daughter's house. There is about 100 meters between the two homes. My house is home to 3 adorable cats, while my daughter has one wonderful cat. One evening, something inexplicable happened. My daughter's cat wandered into my house, and I accidentally left him inside, thinking I would let him out later. Meanwhile, I had let my own 3 cats go outside that evening. About half an hour later, I was heading to my own house after leaving my daughter's place. But suddenly, the very cat I had recently kept inside my house rushed toward me. Puzzled by these events, I opened the door to my house and saw all 3 of my cats calmly sitting inside. But how did this incredible exchange happen? I still can't figure it out. By the way, soon another mysterious event occurred. The cat disappeared without a trace. We searched literally every corner of our property, checked all possible places, but the animal seemed to vanish into thin air. I was extremely worried, as the cat had been living with us for 3 whole years, and there was no way he could have wandered off. He had been neutered long ago. Autumn was taking hold, the weather was worsening, and it was time to move to the city apartment. It was time to pack bags, store clothes, and feed my cats before leaving. That's when my attention was caught by an unexpected guest. Right in the middle of a damp autumn day, covered with mud and wet snow, that very lost cat suddenly appeared. Emaciated and severely thin, he confidently approached me, bringing both bewilderment and joy at the same time. The strangest thing was that despite the bad weather, the cat's fur looked perfectly clean and even his paws were dry. It seemed that running such a distance through mud and puddles would be physically impossible, Yet here he was, alive and well, demanding food. He greedily pounced on the food. It later turned out that a similar story happened with my daughter's sister as well. One winter, during severe frost, her pet went out for a walk and also disappeared, leaving only a few tracks in the fresh snow. The search continued for almost 2 weeks, but was unsuccessful. Finally, one morning, quite unexpectedly, the cat returned home safe and sound. Its owner, deciding not to lose such a precious pet again, began to watch its every move. She let the cat outside again and carefully observed it as it wandered farther and farther away. When the cat had walked some distance through the deep snow, the sister saw an absolutely astonishing sight. The animal's tracks abruptly ended right in the middle of the yard, as if the cat had lifted off and flown into the air. These incidents make one ponder the true nature of our four-legged friends. Cats remain such mysterious creatures, full of surprises and wonders, making us marvel and admire them every day. We had an incident. Of course, not a glitch in the matrix, but very interesting. We were fishing with the family in Sochi, in a pond by a restaurant. Everyone was catching fish, nothing special. And my mom cast her line and pulled out a golden plastic fish with hooks. How she managed to hook it on the bottom, in such a rather large lake, is beyond me. We were happy, took a photo, and consider it a sign of good luck. Throughout my life, I have experienced many unusual and mysterious events, but I want to start with the first, most vivid memory. It happened when our family lived in a small town in the North Urals, in a house located on the very edge of the settlement. Around it stretched only endless forest and the exclusion zone. The house itself was a solid 2-story building with a cozy wooden staircase inside. I was only 5 years old at the time, and I remember that day well. It was a day off. A snowstorm raged outside all day, and in the evening, it suddenly stopped, leaving behind a fantastic landscape of tall white hills and an amazing winter silence. My parents allowed me to go outside to play for a little while, and I took my favorite sled, hoping to meet some other children nearby. However, the playground was deserted, and I was completely alone among the majestic snow mounds. Deciding to turn the walk into an exciting game, I began to imagine myself as a brave partisan hiding from enemies in deep snowdrifts like a real scout. And so, playing in this way, I raised my eyes and saw something utterly incredible. Right above our house stood the figure of a woman in a dazzling white garment, her hair hidden under a light, airy veil. At first, I thought that the Snow Queen herself, whose fairy tales my mother read to me in the evenings, had appeared before me. However, I soon realized that this stranger bore no resemblance to the legendary queen. Her facial features were different, more like those of local northern women or women from Asia. Then, a gentle voice came from somewhere above. "Go home." Frightened, I jumped to my feet, quickly gathering the sled, and rushed back toward the house. But no sooner had I entered the vestibule than I came face to face with yet another unusual character. In the entrance hall stood a sturdy man wearing an old army padded jacket, rough soldier boots, and a fur ushanka hat. His appearance immediately reminded me of the prisoners who were sometimes seen on the streets of our area. The sled clattered loudly on the wooden steps, attracting the attention of the neighbors below. The door of one of the apartments swung open, and a kind-hearted neighbor peeked out, seeing my panic and haste. Desperately dragging the sled behind me, I raced upstairs, feeling relief as I finally found safety in my own room. Years go by, yet that episode remains vivid in my memory. Sometimes I wonder whether that female silhouette was my heavenly guardian, a guardian angel watching over my childhood fate, even across space and time.